my Evermore brothers. Here's one that was sent to me by Brother Adrian. And this is an old one, but it shows you that the Manosphere and the Black Manosphere is having an effect on these laws. Because we say that what we do here has no effect and there's nothing that you can do and there's no changes. Au contraire, this is 5 years old. More than 20 states in 2017 considered laws to promote shared custody of children after divorce. It's from the Washington Post. The every other weekend dad, born from two generations of soaring divorce rates, was once a conventional part of American culture. In recent years, more couples have been agreeing to parent after divorce as they did in marriage, collaboratively. Now lawmakers are accelerating this trend toward co-parenting, with legislatures in more than 20 states this year considering bills, it's a while back, that would encourage shared parenting and make it a legal presumption, even when parents disagree. Kentucky passed a law to make joint physical custody and equal parenting time standard for temporary orders while divorce is being finalized. Florida's legislature overwhelmingly approved a bill last year to resume equal time for child custody plans, but it was vetoed by the governor. And in Michigan, lawmakers are considering a bill that would make equal parenting time the starting point for custody decisions. Florida, the DeSantis is gone on a full Monte for fatherhood. So even though it was vetoed 5 years ago, a lot of this stuff is coming back up. It never went away. So this stuff is having an effect. You know, the Manosphere is having an effect on society because the MGTOWs were going to walk away. The MGTOWs came out of the men's rights movement. And this is one of the big issues about child support and child custody after a divorce. The push for legal custody arrangements follows years of lobbying by fathers' rights advocates who say men feel alienated from their children and overburdened by child support obligations. This movement is gaining new traction with support from across the political spectrum as more lawmakers respond to this appeal for gender equality, and among some conservatives, the frustration of a newly emboldened constituency of men who say they are being shortchanged. Now that is the Manosphere. Many of the legislative gains recently have been propelled by the National Parents Organization, a group with roots in the fathers' rights movement, but now a broadened focus on children's rights and parental equality. The organization includes some women members. Critics of the bills, including women's rights groups and some legal associations, say that stricter laws will roll back important protections against abusive or controlling former spouses, read men, and take discretion away from judges who are tasked with deciding what is the best interest of the children, which is the best interest of the females. Bullshit. They also say that bills which would directly apply to only 10% or so of divorcing parents who cannot come up to an arrangement, it's also bullshit, are necessary because more divorcing parents are already choosing shared custody. Yeah, they're trying to, soft shoe. Laws that require joint physical custody could also lead to the elimination of child support. There it is. That's what they're worried about. It's about the money. Elimination of child support in some states. Women advocates say disrupting a system that was designed to help women who have historically been paid less in the workforce while performing more unpaid labor at home. Bullshit. That disparity in assets and earning power doesn't simply disappear at separation. Told you it's about the money, said Molly Dragowitz, an associate professor at Queensland University of Technology in Australia, who wrote a book about domestic abuse and divorce. What the hell does a chick that's in Australia have to do with what goes in the United States? Proponents emphasize that bills overwhelmingly address parents who are otherwise fit and not abusive. They say that family courts are out of step with modern families and that the current system benefits highly paid lawyers while depriving millions of children of the chance to build meaningful relationships with their fathers. Yeah, they want to keep these broads paid up. The way the system is set up now, two parents enter the courtroom. When they leave, one is a parent and the other is a visitor, say Christian Posh, 37, of the National Parents Organization of Virginia. Got to look up Christian Posh. A presumption of shared parenting will replace the winner-takes-all approach currently embedded in the law, he said, and replace it with a new message. You will both still be parents and you both matter to your children. 25 states considered laws to encourage shared parenting in 2017. Bills include proposals to require judges to consider shared parenting a starting point in their decisions about child custody, or to write their custody decisions down so parents could understand them better. Kentucky passed a law this year to make joint physical custody and equal parenting time standard for temporary orders while divorce is being finalized. That's 20 states. Now, a lot of these are red. They're not all blue. Moms as natural caregivers. And I've said this before. For more than a century, court decisions were guided by the tender years doctrine, a vestige, legal scholars say, of the cult of domesticity that put women on a pedestal as instinctive caregivers. It's actually older than that. It's like 200 years old. That began to change in the 1960s and 1970s as more women joined the workforce and as no-fault divorce laws ushered a wave of divorces. The guiding principle in custody rulings changed to a more flexible and gender-neutral best interest of the child standard, and states overturned previous rules that disallowed joint custody. But despite changing laws, judges continued to use their discretion to award primary physical custody overwhelmingly to mothers in many places, reflecting a lingering bias, many say. Fathers' rights groups and other advocates who have worked to make laws stronger. Statutes in the District of Columbia include a presumption that joint custody is in the best interest of the child, except in cases of abuse or neglect. In Maryland, advocates have promoted bills that would create a presumption of joint legal decision-making and equal parenting time, but they have not made it out of committee. In Virginia, Senator Barbara A. Favola is introducing a bill that will require judges to communicate in writing the rationale for their custody decisions. This baby step might open the door to more joint custody decisions, she said, because a written ruling could give parents something to use for appeals and provide a chance to evaluate whether bias is influencing decisions. Favola said she sees both sides of the issue. She wants to make a statement that children benefit from having two involved parents. Fathers matter. But she also believes that the existing best interest legal standard makes sense, since joint custody is considered best practice unless there are mitigating circumstances. Posh, who has been advocating for a stronger shared parenting law in Virginia, said he believes that judicial bias played a role in his custody case. When the Air Force veteran and federal employee was separated a decade ago, he was afraid he would lose a connection to his son, then a year old. I think I know who this dude is. He and his son's mother could not agree on a custody arrangement, so they went to court, where Posh asked for primary custody. A court-appointed investigator tasked with representing the interests of his child recommended equally shared custody. A judge in Southern Virginia instead gave primary custody to the mother and granted Posh visitation, he said. He appealed, and a settlement worked out an agreement to have physical custody for almost half the time. Today, he talks with his son almost every day and has physical custody about 30% of the time when his son has breaks from school. The son now lives out of state with his mother the rest of the time. Maintaining close contact and being involved in important decisions has required frequent court intervention. If the laws had given fathers more explicit rights, he believes, the process would have been less contentious. It took 8 years and 8 or 9 times in court and about 15 attorneys to get to this point. Posh, who has since married and whose wife, Kristen, has become involved in advocacy for shared parenting. The benefits of co-parenting. Extensive social science research shows that children benefit from having an involved father. Children with active fathers tend to have higher self-esteem and better academic records. I can vouch for that. A meta-analysis research of the effects of shared parenting on children in 15 countries also showed benefits across a range of emotional, behavioral, and physical health measures. I can also vouch for that. The custody laws in our country were based on the sexist belief that mothers are better than fathers at raising children, said Linda Nielsen, Sexist. A professor of adolescent and educational psychology at Wake Forest University. A woman. Well, the research does not support that. Advocates for shared parenting frequently cite a broader set of statistics showing worse outcomes, such as greater risk of incarceration or dropping out of high school for children raised in any single-parent households, including those in which parents are never married, and a category that represents about 40% of all U.S. births today. Including whites. This can be misleading, some academics say, because never married parents are far more likely to be very poor, which by itself can lead to negative outcomes for children. Some researchers question whether conclusions can be drawn from studies that show benefits from shared parenting, since children being raised in joint custody arrangements probably have two parents get along better, a situation that would not necessarily extend to those compelled to adopt shared custody. Not the amount of parenting time, but the quality of parenting and the quality of co-parenting that matters, said Robert Emery, a professor of psychology at the University of Virginia and the author of Two Homes, One Child. Kids don't count the minutes and percents, but they sure respond if they have a good relationship with their mom and dad, or if they are caught in the middle of a war zone. Rather than giving courts the power to make these changes, Emery and others recommend alternative resolution strategies. Right. Many states are promoting mediation and the creation of parenting plans in lieu of custody litigation. Such plans spell out in minute detail how each parent will take responsibility for the care of each child. Studies show that this process usually leads to a more equitable division of parenting time. I think they want to keep the money. Many states, including Virginia, have also changed the vocabulary of child custody to promote a less adversarial outcome, with decision-making and parenting time replacing legal custody and physical custody. But for many fathers, a gradual approach to change is unsatisfying if they are separated from their children. Now, many become politically involved through local divorce support groups where they go to receive legal counsel, vent frustrations, and get some support from other men, although some of these fathers groups have drawn heavy criticism for promoting the notion that false claims of domestic abuse are widespread. Sounds like the Manosphere. A growing number of stay-at-home dads, younger dads, are also pushing for family court changes because they are committed to caregiving and want to redefine gender roles. That's, I guess, is that an outgrowth of feminism? If we are going to create a new generation of men who view caregiving and work at home as meaningful work, feminists, we have to be willing to let them be in spaces we traditionally don't let them into and create protections for them in the event their marriages don't last. In other words, you want these motherfuckers to stay home and be supportive men and supportive fathers. You're going to have to give them the same rights as women. So, say that the Manosphere is not having an effect is not true. It's not, they don't directly name the Manosphere, but the MGTOWs and the MRMs and the Manosphere had a lot to do with this. They put a lot of pressure on the laws, on the lawmakers. The lawmakers hear this stuff. They do. They hear the rumbles. They listen to everything. And a lot of stuff that we talk about in these spaces bubble out into the real world. And a lot of guys that are suffering under this discrimination towards men actually hear this stuff and actually use these talking points. A lot of stuff that we talked about in the Manosphere is actually in this article. Tender years doctrine. I've been talking about it forever, right? Green Gorilla's been talking about it. It's been mentioned in the MGTOW community. Okay, basically the tender years doctrine actually took away the patriarchy and put women on a pedestal. That's what it did. They said that right here. So don't think that this is just guys bitching and moaning and going in circles on the internet. This stuff does have an effect. This stuff does have an effect. It has a far-reaching effect. The thing is, people go on YouTube and don't look to see if there's any kind of effect, any kind of a change outside in the real world. This is not instant coffee, okay? The 10 years doctrine took 400 years before it even happened, okay? And There, and it's been around for 200 years. And you're not going to change something that's been around for 200 years within 5 to 10 years. It doesn't work that way. It's a very slow process. But the thing is, the process has to be made. And I think with men walking away, just walking away from marriage and walking away from producing children, is having an effect because they need children. Those children need to be raised, and the state cannot step in and pay for a father. Okay, the other adult, the other parent, the money, the time, the effort, the work that you put into those children cannot be charged with dollars and cents, right? So they can't, they can't just take your whole check, otherwise you can't live, right? So, and the money that you give in child support goes in a woman's pocket, but the thing is, it doesn't do anything for the kid. All you're doing is harassing the guys, making the guys' lives miserable, and the guys coming after them are going to refuse to marry and have children, which a lot of your millennials and a lot of the Z's are not getting married and not having kids for this very reason, not taking care of women or children. It's better, they say it's better to die alone than live miserably. And you know what? Sometimes I look back at my life and said, I love my children, but if I had my druthers, living 60, 70 years happy is a whole lot better than, people, kids being around you when, being unhappy and just so you don't have to die alone. Get the fuck out of here. Men don't care about that shit. Anyway, I don't want this to go on too long. So I'm going to end it here. I just wanted to put this up to show you that this stuff does have an effect in the real world. And if you look for it, you can actually see the actual on the ground effect that it does have. Now, nobody in the Manosphere that I know of actually showed this this article that I know of. Now, somebody may have, but it didn't make the rounds. But this is bona fide, 100% proof that what we do here, what we do online, does matter. So all the naysayers that says it doesn't, that we're just masturbating online and talking shit about women and said it's not going to do anything, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because it does. So listen to them dumb bastards, right? Call them just what they are, dumb bastards. Don't listen to them dumb bastards. Keep doing what you're doing, because this shit does work. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. This is BG South, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.